I've been thinking a lot about that one episode from The Simpsons where Homer discovers he has a crayon stuck up in his brain and immediately gets surgically removed, becomes real smart. You can tell that he's smart because memory cubes. And
What if he's actually scrambling them?
it's actually like the other way around.
We don't know. There's no way to know.
There's no way to know. It's on YouTube. But then, like, in a few days, he regrets it and immediately goes back to, like, you know what? Being smart is not that great. And maybe you are the type of person that you're living your life with no regrets. Please don't get that tattoo. But I would argue that as a society, we are a little obsessed with regrets. Again, rabbit hole of just, these are all the songs and things named after regret or with regret in their title, including this one, which is a little bit of a bop. It will be stuck in your head just like it's been on mine. But we do have a psychological definition, and it's this: the aversive emotional state elicited by discrepancy in the outcome, values of chosen versus unchosen actions. It's a mouthful to say something bad happened, and you're now thinking, if I had done this or if I didn't do that, that would have been different. And the key thing here is that there's this discrepancy between like your actions and the outcome. But we still don't fully understand how that is represented in the brain. People have tried. So back in 2009, they put people in fMRI machines and found that some of these regions were active only during regret. So these were regions like the ventral striatum and the medial orbital frontal cortex. There will be a different quiz at the end. They will come back. And these are regions responsible for decision making, for how we like operate around the world, which makes sense. And no tea, no shade to if you do fMRI research, Paula.
Are you going to start slamming fMRI research right now? Because, I mean, it is true that those regions of the brain, they also are involved in the opposite of regret, right?
And once again, we ask researchers, how does this thing happen? And fMRI research just said, that I can show you where.
I mean, this is all fair. This is all fair.
I believe the science, but we need more than this. And that's how people turn into animal studies. But much like other things, it's one of those things where you don't know if animals feel regrets, and I'm here to tell you the delightful story that yes, they do. Look at this little guy.
Aww.
It won't be that sad, I promise. But in sciencey terms, this is a fairly new field of, I guess, studying regrets in other animal models. The first studies came in 2014, and they use...
Sorry. We're just empathizing.
It uses one of my new favorite techniques. I don't use this in like my lab, but I wish I did. They use something called the restaurant roll, and it's just, it's amazing. Everything about this is delightful. So in the restaurant roll, mice are able to choose between, let's say, banana, cherry, chocolate, or just their plain food. And because rodents are not capitalists, they don't spend money, they spend their time. So they have an hour to go around restaurants, so they'll get offers. So for 5 seconds, you can get... Or if you're in a hurry and you want something quicker, you can go for... Or if you want something really good, you can spend more time and get...
Chocolates! What? Chocolate! I can't hear you!
So good.
They're selling chocolate!
And of course, this is science, so they needed controls, and their controls were just plain food, which, gross. If you're having troubles conceptualizing this, so did I, but thank God I have an actual scientific video. This is from a different study done in mice this time, so they're a little smaller and like not as smart. But what we're gonna see is basically the mouse is gonna go around and get these offers and choose certain things. So for 5 seconds, it's gonna get some chocolate. Yay!
Yay!
And the cool thing about this is you can see we can track where the mouse is. We can like look at their brain. You're gonna see him saying no to a lot of these offers because it's too expensive. Nobody got time for 20 seconds. But then he picks a different one for 5 seconds, enters the thing. You can see that he's like poking the spout where the food's gonna come from. And the coolest thing comes when they don't choose the food, when they don't choose to wait. The mouse is gonna go up there. It's gonna get the offer for 16 seconds. Goes in, starts the countdown, and then decides not to do that. And those little moments of decision making where we can track the animal and be like, okay, he's gonna go here, he wants to do this, but then quits. Scientists use this to understand regret a little bit better, and they define it as basically skipping something that was low cost and high reward, so let's say the cherries, for 10 seconds. And then next offer, you get encounter with high cost, low reward, so plain food. It'll come back. And again, this is science, so we need controls. They control for disappointment, for just the negative emotion of plain food. Instead of skipping that good food first, one of the controls was just they stay for the low-cost food, so like they got the cherry, but then again, got encountered with the plain food, yuck. The second form of control was they skipped something that was high cost and then encounter another high cost, low reward. These are just basically for the negativity of encountering that plain food. And because these are trackable, we can see where the rat, in this case, is looking at. This is from a few years ago. We have better video now. But what they saw was that the rats will be faced with the yuck food and immediately look backwards to the thing that they could have had.
Oh.
And you can just,
Longing.
it's beautiful. And the interesting thing to me a little bit is that the controls did something different. So if you had good food and then you got encountered with plain food, you're like, fine, I'm here. I'm going to stay here. If you skipped two different offers, you just look at the future. You're just looking forward to the next offer. And it gets better because we do have the ability to go inside our brains and record activity from it. This is a little complicated, but this is basically showing two different brain regions, the orbital frontal cortex and the ventral striatum, which you already know it's related to regret. The representation of that previous choice is increased while they're faced with that regret. So they're basically in front of plain food thinking like, fuck, I could have had good, like I could have had better, which is pretty fascinating by itself. It's just amazing that they're like having this complex thought, but it gets even better because after a few years of doing this in rats and mice, they discovered that there were more than one type of regret. So we've been talking a lot about this, skipping the high value, which thinking of the one that got away. I still haven't watched that movie, but the second type of regret that they looked into was investing in a low value offer, which we've all done it. And I like to think of this as the I could have fixed him type of situations where you just spend too much time on something that wasn't worth it. And they wanted to know if these are sharing similar brain circuits, if these are affected by stress, like study the difference between these two types of regrets. So they went back to the restaurant row. In this case, the options were chocolate, banana, grape, plain. What was interesting for them was the control mice, who did not get stressed, were more sensitive to this second form of regret, this investing in a low-value offer. And the sensitivity here is basically, what is the likelihood that they would accept another fuckboy next or a low offer next? So if they regret the grape, would they go for the plain food quicker? Mice that were susceptible to stress were in a completely other end of this regret. So they would be they'll have higher sensitivity to accepting the offer only when they experience that first form of regret, which is already a little crazy, but mice that are resilient to stress would actually have a higher sensitivity to the second type of regret. They'll have a higher likelihood of getting for plain food, but they would also have something called sunk cost fallacy or sunk cost regrets. They would wait more time if they already waited some time. So if you're in line for getting something, you spend like 30 minutes in line, you'll spend more time because you already spent 30 minutes, even though that's not rational. So these mice would show this. And I wish I could tell you that we figure out, how regret works in all these different regions. They did find a protein that was acting in these two different brain regions, basically alternating between these two. The protein was CRAB, and they found that the medial prefrontal cortex and the nucleus accumbens were doing this reverse between the two states, but I love this phrase that they have in the paper. It would appear that these two regions have similar to the inverted role on singular shared behavior axis, which, Jesus. And they then follow that up with, our data argue that a simplified picture is far more complex in reality. So there is no answer. We still don't understand how regret works, or we have...
It's so clear now.
It's so clear.
I understand it so well.
And hopefully you do not regret listening to this whole story. But if you're feeling a little bit like a rat that skipped some good food, just think in the future you could have pizza maybe.